Well, good morning, Queensland, and today is a beautiful day. First of all, we have 0 new cases, which is fantastic news in Queensland. We have had 5,953 tests in the last 24 hours, so please, if you are feeling sick at all, please go and get tested. And 11,348 vaccines in the past 24 hours, so that's actually fantastic news as well. Well, of course, there's no better day to be a Queenslander than today. We have moved to the next most significant step on our journey, our quest to attain the 2032 Olympic Games. Last night, the IOC Executive Board has recommended Brisbane, Queensland 2032 to proceed to the Olympic Council vote on the 20th and 21st of July next month. This is an incredibly proud moment for every single Queenslander. As I've always said, the Olympics in 2032 sets Queensland up for the future. It would mean we become an Olympic city. It would mean over 130,000 jobs. It means $8 billion in uplift, and it means the international tourism and trade benefits for decades to come. We have seen over the last 18 months our world transformed by COVID, and Queenslanders have responded. But what the Olympics does is it sets us up for the future. It gives us hope, it gives us inspiration. It means that the children now in our schools have the opportunity to achieve their Olympic dreams. Queenslanders love their sport. Australians love their sport. And this would put Brisbane and Queensland on the world and international stage. I want to thank Thomas Bach. I go back to the moment that we met, and I really thank him for the trust and the confidence that they have shown to date in Brisbane and Queensland. Now, we also presented to the Host Commission over 3 lengthy nights, presenting our vision for Olympics in 2032. It involves many Olympic sports in so many venues, encompassing not just South East Queensland, but inclusive of Townsville, and of course that torch relay would go through the length and breadth of Queensland as well. I want everyone to join in this adventure. This is a game changer for Queensland, and I'm absolutely delighted that all levels of government are working cooperatively in the best interests of Queensland and what it means to the future of our great state. I'll hand over to the Lord Mayor to say a few words. I know he's just as excited as I am. And then, of course, Minister Sterling Hinchcliffe, and we also have Ted and Karen with us as well. Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Premier. Look, after the State of Origin this week, this is the good news that Queensland needed. We know that there's a great amount of excitement in the community because this is something that will deliver benefits right across the state, not just to Brisbane, not just to South East Queensland, but to the whole state of Queensland and also nationally. The information released by the IOC today confirms that. It confirms that we have 84% of the venues that will either be in place or are temporary venues. And it also confirms that the other facilities we need are needed for our population, needed for our growing population. So whether it's better transport, better roads, better facilities, these are things that we will need. Thomas Bach has been here to Brisbane. He has seen this place with his own eye, and he has been a big fan of our city and our region and our state. And I want to thank him for his leadership of the IOC, for Brisbane and South East Queensland and the state of Queensland getting to this point in the process. We are at the final hurdle. What we will see now is on the 21st of July in Tokyo, a vote being taken by the wider group of the IOC. It's not in the bag yet, but we are at that final hurdle, and we're approaching this with a lot of positivity and a sense of optimism for our state and our city and our future. This is something where there has been a lot of work over many years put into, and we've got to this stage. We can see the finishing line, and there is a great opportunity for our state and our city that we have never had before. The jobs that will be created, the infrastructure that will be delivered, the partnership between three levels of government as well. I have never seen it working so well, the three levels of government coming together, and that is a fantastic thing. Every Queenslander benefits from that, and this is very exciting for our city, our state and our nation.
Thanks, Sterling, and then Ted.
Thank you, Premier, and thank you, Lord Mayor. All of the sporting analogies continue to flow, of course, so we do see the finishing line in sight in relation to this project to secure the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games for Brisbane, Queensland. I'm very appreciative of the excellent work that the Future Host Commission has done and the recommendation that they've made, which has been accepted by the IOC Executive Board. To have the Brisbane 2032 bid go before the full session of the International Olympic Committee ahead of the Tokyo Games at the end of July is a wonderful next step for our ambition for the region, for the state. As has been said, this has been an outstanding partnership between all of the partners in the process, between the Queensland Government, the Australian Government, local governments throughout South East Queensland and beyond, and the Australian Olympic Committee. I really want to acknowledge the great work that all of those partners have done in partnership and the ambition that it's demonstrated and the outcomes that will flow. We see in the materials that have been released now by the International Olympic Committee the KPMG report that identifies now an increased level of economic outcome for the state. $8.1 billion in economic injection that hosting an Olympic and Paralympic Games in 2032 would deliver. This is exciting news for every part of Queensland, and this is a huge opportunity that we need to embrace across all aspects, not just delivering the economic benefits, not just delivering the job benefits, but delivering the social and community and health benefits that the hosting of an Olympic and Paralympic Games will present. I'm so excited to be part of working together and make sure we get there. Obviously, we need to keeping those steps 1 foot ahead of the other as we continue this race towards the finishing line that we've all identified. But I know that we're doing this well together, and it's a great outcome for Queensland as we take these next steps.
Thanks, Sterling. Ted, representing the Prime Minister.
Thank you, Premier and Lord Mayor and Minister and Mayor. Well, today is a wonderful day. Welcome to the final countdown en route to our date with destiny, which will be the 21st of July. There's no doubt that the decision by the IOC's Executive Board last night allowed us to clear the penultimate hurdle with just one more to go before we reach that finish line. We respect, of course, the fact that it is up to each IOC member to cast his or her vote, and we are confident that the proposition we have put forward is indeed a compelling one. To echo some of the sentiments already mentioned so far, the fact that we have demonstrated such a unity of purpose is one of the things that has differentiated our proposal. You know, Australians pull together. Typically, we need to pull together and unite at times of crisis. In this case, we're talking about a long-term aspiration, and we see Australians unite, we see political parties unite, we see tiers of government unite. And it's with that unity of purpose that we have communicated to the International Olympic Committee, and I also pay tribute to those who are not here today, including the Australian Olympic Committee and also Paralympics Australia, who have worked so well together with the Australian Government, Queensland Government and the South East Queensland Council of Mayors. Delighted to be here and looking forward to the tough and nail-biting time ahead, but here's hoping for the best for the 21st of July.
Thank you.
Well, today is a red-letter day for South East Queensland as we approach the final leg of this exciting relay. And I want to acknowledge that 6 years ago, out of the first blocks was Graham Quirk understanding the needs for infrastructure in our region. And today, we look to the 21st of July to make sure that infrastructure that is needed for our growth will be delivered as a consequence of Olympic 2032. I'm really excited that I've been on that journey for our city and for the region for 6 years. It's been worth the wait, and I'm looking forward to crossing that finishing line on the 21st of July to make sure that South East Queensland, Brisbane, all of the local governments in South East Queensland, and of course Queensland and Australia, benefit from this significant global sporting event. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. We're happy to take a few questions on this first.
Premier, how crucial is going to Tokyo to seal the deal, to answer those final set of questions from all the IOC members?
Yeah, so there has to be a final presentation, and it'll either be myself and the Lord Mayor going, or it will be Sterling Hinchcliffe and the Deputy Mayor going. This is incredibly important. There will be 2 representatives there from Queensland to ensure that the final finishing line is crossed successfully. And of course, I think we can sum this up as we have actually just done the final hurdle, and the finishing line is just in front of us, and it's almost there. We've just got to wait a little bit longer. But I also too do respect all of the Olympic Committee members, and at the end of the day, it's up to them to decide. But today is an incredibly proud day, something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime to get to this position. Sorry?
You seem like you're almost at tears.
It's incredible. Like, if you think about it, you know, we produced the Commonwealth Games, and it was when we had the final Commonwealth Games, and people were coming in and talking about us and saying, well, what about the Olympics? And it was like that extra step of, well, hang on a minute, maybe we can do it. We just did a great Commonwealth Games, and then we actually had members from the IOC, and you know, John Coates has been such a strong proponent of this bid. We will not be here without John. I do want to acknowledge the hard work of John Coates. But to now think that we are almost about to claim the biggest event in the world. I mean, State of Origin's great, but we're talking here now the biggest event on the global stage. And in 2032, I'm very confident that COVID will be under control. We'll know a lot more about things, and we will be able to welcome internationals here with open arms and show them the best that Queensland has to offer.
You're hoping for a better result than Wednesday night with them, all right?
Yeah, they've got 2 more games, all right? The 2 more games.
Premier, if you or Minister Hinchcliffe
Yes.
go to Japan, budget estimate starts the
Yeah, we'll be sorting all that out. That's not a problem. I will still be doing estimates, and Sterling will still be doing estimates, whether it's before or after. I think that is a minor consideration at the moment when you consider what is at stake here. $8 billion of economic uplift, putting Brisbane, Queensland on the international stage. We actually deferred Parliament when we had to go to the Commonwealth Games over in the UK. There's not going to be a deferral. We'll definitely do estimates. I'm not worried at all.
It won't be on Zoom or something.
Sorry?
It won't be on Zoom.
I like to physically be there, so we'll either do it before I go or after I get back.
So those long nights of briefings with the future host.
Yes.
Were you a part of that?
Yes, I was. I think we can actually we could actually release a few of those photos now. A lot of work went into that. You know, and I want to commend the team. There's been a whole team here working across government, working with the federal government and working with council to put together our best pitch to the host commission, talking everything up about Queensland, our sustainability, questions on our Great Barrier Reef, what this means for Queenslanders, and even having young people involved in that presentation, talking up what it means to them. So it's an incredibly proud day, but you know, the finish line is almost there, but we haven't quite crossed it yet.
If you get the games, what will you call them?
Sorry?
If you get the games, what will you call them?
They will be the Brisbane Queensland Olympics. So we're very excited by that.
So what exactly will that be called? Is that settled now? Because I know Tom Tate's a bit cranky that it's apparently Brisbane.
Well, it has to be the capital city, and Brisbane is the capital city. We are all Queenslanders, so Queensland will be there, and I'll be referring to it as the Brisbane Queensland 2032 Olympics.
Some of the events we play interstate. Are you happy to share that with Sydney and Melbourne?
There's some of the football matches will be there, and that's fine. That's exactly what we need to do. But we want all of Queensland to be part of this. There's going to be 28 Olympic sports in 32 venues. Today, the IOC also released the master plan video that we sent them, so we'll be putting that out to everyone as well. And I urge Queenslanders to have a look at that video because it makes you proud to think of the existing infrastructure we have. A lot of that was built for the Commonwealth Games, but also to the new infrastructure, some of those community legacy benefits like we saw with Coomera.
Is Brisbane Live going to be built?
Sorry?
Is Brisbane Live
That's part of the proposition, yes. It's the redevelopment of the Gabba and Brisbane Live above Roma Street, and we'll be working with all the levels of government to release those plans shortly. There's some work being done on that.
What are the factors that go into deciding whether you do go to Japan?
Look, honestly, it's going to depend on the COVID situation here. My number one priority is to keep Queenslanders safe. As we've seen, thankfully today, 0 new cases. That is wonderful news. We would have expected to see a couple of community cases from that couple if it was going to be in the community. So the next 24 to 48 hours, we'll be monitoring that very closely. But it will depend on the COVID situation here.
But your preference and intention is to be there?
Look, the Lord Mayor and my intention at this stage is to be in Tokyo, which is exactly what the IOC would expect us to do.
Could you still travel even if there is an outbreak in Queensland?
Look, I'll weigh all those issues up and I'll be taking advice from the Chief Health Officer. I will definitely be getting advice from the Chief Health
There
Officer.
was a bit of change from that master plan overnight. It looks like there's more of a revamp of Chandler now. Obviously, Brisbane Arena, as you mentioned, a few different new venues that we hadn't seen before. Are they all definite, or they're pretty much close to if we get the game?
Look, there can be some small changes around, but, you know, look, what we've sent there is very comprehensive. And everyone should remember, we have pulled this together in such a short time frame. Usually this is years in the making, and we have had people working around the clock. And I do want to thank all of those officials who have been doing that. It has been an incredible work. But don't forget, because a lot of them have worked on the Commonwealth Games, they were able to bring that experience and understanding to this proposal for the Olympics.
Outside the soccer and perhaps the basketball, there was rumours that some of the other events, rowing and the whitewater events, would be held interstate. Can you confirm whether that's...
No, they're going to be held in Queensland. We made it very firm proposition to the host commission when we presented that they will be done here. My understanding from memory is that the rowing is in the scenic rim and the whitewater rafting, I think, is in Redlands down in your area, Karen. Yeah.
Can we grab you on that, Karen?
Yeah.
Quickly, obviously, we've done a story on that. Pretty exciting to see that that's likely going to happen. There's a few venues there in Redlands. How much of a boost is this for your area, and how much do you want that venue to happen?
Well, I think the most important outcome for having an Olympic venue in Redlands is ultimately going to be the infrastructure delivery that we've been lobbying for a long time, like the Eastern Busway and the duplication of rail. That will certainly make investing in our city more profitable and more exciting for private investors, but also look forward to working with the government to make sure that people can move across our region easily and happily, and particularly when we have a games where we want to make sure that everyone's very happy with South East Queensland and how they can move across from venue to venue.
How quickly could you start seeing some of those venues built if we do get the games? How quickly do we have to hit the ground running?
Well, I think in the IOC report it talks about construction starting in 2024 to be completed by 2026.
Fast rail, I feel like it comes up every time we discuss Olympics.
Yeah.
Is that knocked on the head? It's not part, was it at all part of
No,
the proposal?
it's not part of the proposal because our transport plan does get people to the venues in the required time. So the IOC, the host commission, was very happy with our proposal we put forward.
And that needs upgrades to our existing rail
Yeah,
lines?
upgrades to our existing, and of course we're building Cross River Rail. I mean, this is a huge injection of funds, over $5.4 billion, which has enabled us to put forward that great proposal of redevelopment of the Gabba, and also with the Brisbane Arena above Roma Street.
Duplication.
We would not have been able to do that if it wasn't for our government making that commitment to go ahead with that Cross River Rail.
Duplication of the Sunshine Coast.
Yes, yeah, that's progressing as well. Yep.
Last couple of
Do you
questions.
think the legislation that led to the sacking of the Logan councillors needs to be reviewed?
My understanding is that the PCCC is looking. Are there any more questions on the Olympics?
In terms of our organising committee, is there any movement towards that, or are you still waiting for that final IOC?
We're working on those issues, and once we get the final tick-off, if the final tick-off comes from the IOC, then the organising structures will then take place, and legislation will be passed through our state parliament.
Do you have people in mind for
Not at this stage. We will be making sure we get the best and brightest people on that board. It is so important to Queensland, and let me assure you, we will be giving that due consideration, both myself and the Prime Minister. We are at one on this issue.
Premier, should the family from Bill Wheeler be allowed
Okay,
to settle in
anything?
Australia?
Okay, all right. Okay, now we'll go on to other issues.
Should the-
If there's
should the
nothing
federal
else on
government-
Olympics, I'll move. I'm happy
Oh,
to
unless
come
you
back
want
in
to
if
talk
you want
about
to.
the Australian
I'm happy to
government
come
issues.
in. Happy to come in if you like. I won't be standing behind the Premier on some of these things tonight.
Should the
Oh, you're more than welcome, Ted. I extend the hand of
Actually,
friendship.
I'm happy to
I
come
can
back
assure
in.
you I'm happy to.
should the federal government allow the family from Bill Wheeler to settle in Australia?
Yeah, look, what's happening to that family, I think, is incredibly tragic. They were a family based in Billawheeler, and I think it's time the federal government made a decision about that.
Premier, why didn't you get the vaccine back in March?
Oh, I'm not going through all of that. I've been through that at length, okay?
Not about
No,
March, though. Why didn't
I've-
you get it back in March?
Because I wasn't going to jump the queue when our frontline health workers needed to be vaccinated
Other
first.
premiers around the country, though, have stood up and said they want to show leadership. You didn't think?
I didn't want, and you would have criticised me if I jumped the queue.
Just on COVID, when will...
my question that I asked?
Yes, sorry, Lydia.
Do you think the legislation needs to be reviewed?
In relation to,
The legislation the government passed that led to the sacking of the voting councillors, do you think it needs to be
I think we
reviewed?
should await the outcome of the inquiry that the PCCC is looking at in relation to that matter, and I will not be commenting on that until the PCCC committee makes its recommendations. Sorry?
So Mouse Minister Hinchcliffe,
But Minister Hinchcliffe is no longer the local government minister.
but he was at the time.
Yeah, well, he's not now.
When will Greater Melbourne be removed as a hotspot?
That will be dependent on the Chief Health Officer's advice.
One question from me.
Yeah,
The
last
39,000 tourism vouchers that were binned that haven't been taken up, do you think that the voucher program has worked to revitalise tourism?
Well, I will get the Minister for Tourism to talk a little bit about that, but that voucher program has worked well in many areas. We saw that it gave the uplift that Cairns needed. It worked incredibly well in the Whitsunday region, and from all accounts, people are telling me how successful it's been in Brisbane as well, especially with some of the hotels here not doing as well because we don't have international students and international tourists. So I think it's a great program, and you know, we can always put out more vouchers for those people who didn't do the uptake, but we worked with the tourism sector for this, and it was incredibly successful.
Are your ministers no longer held
Yeah.
accountable for their actions on Samu portfolios?
Sorry?
Are your ministers no longer held accountable for their actions on Samu portfolios?
This issue is now being investigated. It's being investigated by the rightful people, and then if there's any recommendations to government, then government will look at it.
Have police stepped up border compliance in light of the Victorian couple?
The police are looking, they are reviewing that issue. But look, honestly, everyone needs to do the right thing. You know, there was a lockdown on in Melbourne. They shouldn't have left, in Victoria, they shouldn't have left Victoria. And, you know, just puts people at risk. So I know there's an investigation into that. I don't want to jeopardise that investigation, but we want to make sure that we are keeping our country, and especially I want to make sure we're keeping Queenslanders safe. Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you. Thank you.